Coming up on today's Locked On Bucks. Bucks win in Sacramento, a chance at a winning road trip. What stood out in the victory? Camille and I dig into it after this on Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into Locked On Bucks. I'm Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first listen of the day. And to all of those of you who have checked out the Locked On Bucks newsletter, there is still time to sign up for free at lockedondaily.com and get your day started with the all-new free Locked On Bucks newsletter. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. 3 games into this West Coast road trip, Camille, and I suppose the good news, if we're going to take the optimistic view, is, hey, they're not going to go 1-4, which was certainly a concern or top of mind when you closed out the game against the Warriors the way you did. But look, a chance to put together what we said the expectation needs to be 3-2. Not let's hope they win 3. You need to expect to win 3 of those games and ideally put yourself in a spot to win 4. That's still on the table. And another one of those games where didn't look like that was going to be the case for the first 24 minutes.
It surely didn't. Based off the first half alone, I was getting the moment. I was just like, man, another night staying up late for a Bucks game when it feels like it's just going to be one of those type of games here. And then the second half started and Giannis just said, you know what? I'm about to be aggressive. Like, let's go for it. And hearing Giannis before, he's mentioned that for him, being aggressive doesn't mean like go and take 10 shots. Like, it just means to make the right play, do it with the good pace, and do it all out. And this third quarter, when he was tapping into that aggressiveness, it was the shot making for Giannis here down the stretch. 22 points in the third quarter for him alone. Like, if you pulled up his stat line from the third quarter alone, it looks like a lot of guys' end of game stat line. Like, I believe he had like 8 rebounds in the third quarter alone as well. Like, it was just a dominant performance for him in the third, which really sparked the team, I thought, in the fourth quarter to close that game out. And it's one of those games, Justin, where I feel like you can look down the box score and pick every single guy and point to something positive that they did to help the Bucks get this win against the Kings.
Yeah. I mean, the Giannis third quarter is what stands out the most, as you mentioned. I mean, it's a quarter where players would kill for that stat line. I think he only missed 1 shot in the quarter, 22 points. It's the 11th time in his career he has put up a 20-point quarter. The Bucks are now 7-4 in games when he does that. And what struck me, it's the 3rd time this season alone that he's had a 20-point quarter, which you forget about the earlier ones way back about a month or so into the season when, again, it was basically just Giannis that this team had to consistently rely on. But what stood out to me most was Giannis taking over and bringing you back. I think they were down 14 was the most they fell behind by. And it took, midway late in the third quarter before they finally reclaimed their first lead since it was 2-0. So Giannis is what started to bring you there. But to me, the most important part was the fourth quarter and the guys that brought it home for you. Now, we can pick apart. Giannis only took 1 shot in the fourth quarter. You'd love to see more of that. Sure, I'm not going to disagree. But Giannis scored 1 point in the fourth quarter, and you grinded out this win because of something that's largely been absent in a lot of these games, and that's talk about that third score. But tonight it was your second score. Somebody other than Giannis or Damian Lillard making big plays and hitting big shots. And that's what Kevin Porter Jr. and Gary Trent Jr. did.
They surely did. And if you look at just the raw box stats of what Gary Trent Jr. did, you're like, not the most efficient night from Gary Trent Jr. in this particular game here. He went, 4 of 11 from the field in the game, but every single bucket that he made was timely, and they needed it when it came. I mean, even when Giannis checked back in the game and he had like his shot blocked and he somehow was able to kind of kick the ball to the corner for Gary Trent Jr. to knock down that 3, that was the point in the fourth where I was like, okay, like I feel like the Bucks are going to win it when things start bouncing your way in that favor. It feels like it's going your way, but Kevin Porter Jr., 8 of 10 from the field, just continuously came up with clutch buckets for this team, put the team in good positions. Also had 6 assists to go along with that. So 18 and 6 from Kevin Porter Jr. to go with 3 rebounds. Like a really solid day in the office for him. And Kevin Porter Jr. is someone who we've talked about a lot as like that bench scoring, like that bench impact. And post game, he mentioned we feel like we have the best bench in the league, which hearing someone say that about the Milwaukee Bucks bench after what we've been through like the last year or so, where it was like, man,
last 5 to 6 years, really.
Very fair. I was going back to the beginning of us doing this show of like, just, man, we were like, just get into the game bench and don't lose the game. Like, just keep it close. And with the combination that the guys have on this particular bench with Gary Trent Jr., with Kevin Porter Jr., Bobby Portis when he comes back, AJ Green, who's been in the shooting slump, as we've talked about, but man, the 1-3 he made in this game, also very, very timely. But to be able to have that scoring punch come off the bench changes the dynamics for this Bucks team, a Bucks team that's going to need other guys to step up in that scoring department. So again, Kevin Porter Jr. was huge for the Bucks in this game, and they're going to need a lot more of that from him going forward.
Yeah, and timely is the right word that I've struggled to find. Like, what's the way to describe what we get from Gary Trent Jr.? Because it's not necessarily clutch, although he's had a decent amount of those shots. But it just seems like when the Bucks need it most, when you're trying to spark a run of your own or put an end to a run by the opponent, more often than not, it's been Gary Trent Jr. hitting that shot for the Bucks so far this season, and you're starting to see more of it from Kevin Porter Jr. as well. It certainly is a fascinating discussion, at least, about where this Bucks bench ranks, especially once they start to get healthy. And, knock on wood, hopefully get Jericho Sims back for the postseason. You're going to get Bobby Portis back for the final 4 games. And then, I mean, with those 3 guys alone, you look at bench production there. I don't know. We got to come up with a nickname like the Junior Squad or something. You got Bobby Portis Jr., Gary Trent Jr., and Kevin Porter Jr. But the strength is what they bring offensively, certainly. But even that takes away from what Kevin Porter Jr. and Gary Trent Jr. have showed you defensively so far this season, in that, Gary Trent Jr., another big steal down the stretch last night. Kevin Porter Jr. just continuing to throw length out there on guys and has that energy that, we've seen how much it does to the Bucks, and the Kings did it last night too. When you put that full court press on to Dame, last night it was Giannis, and say, okay, we're going to make you use energy to get across midcourt and suck 6 to 7 minutes off of that shot clock too. That can start to wear on you. And now with the way these guys have started to play, you have the ability to do that yourself. We've talked about Ryan Rollins doing that, and that's the other benefit of this trade that brought in Kevin Porter Jr. Ryan Rollins did not have a good game last night, and you had another option you could turn to say, okay, he doesn't have it tonight. Let's see what KPJ can give us.
Something that you didn't have last season, where it was like, who you had on the court?
You had like 1.5 point guards
like that. And that was it. That was all that you had available to you. And this Bucks team, again, we've had a lot of conversations around like the ceiling of this team, how far they might be able to go. And a lot of that, I continue to say, rests on the shoulders of Giannis and Dame and what they can have going forward. Because again, in these series in the East, Giannis is going to be the best player on the court. Dame arguably be the second, third best player on the court. So you know what you have with them, and you also know that teams are going to focus on them and what they can do. Try to shut them down and make others on the Bucks team beat you. And with Kevin Porter Jr. and Gary Trent Jr., what they have been able to show consistently, like, I love the fact that you don't stop shooting. Even AJ Green, like I saw people saying like he has to stop shooting, like he's no value if he's not knocking down the shots. Shooters got to shoot. The only way you get out of a slump is to shoot your way through it. I mean, even Gary Trent Jr., heading into the 4th quarter, he was 0 for 5 from the field. He was 0 for 5 through the first 3 quarters. After that point in the 4th quarter, he came through, was 4 or 6, just big timely buckets from him. And you mentioned the defensive end as well. Like, I'm focused more on the offense because surprisingly, again, the offense has been a bigger problem for this Bucks team than the defense. But again, they continue to ratchet it up as you continue getting that clock closer to the end of the game. That Bucks defense seems to lock in more and more and more. And in the 4th quarter of this game, like, I think the Kings went away, from Keon Ellis, who was killing the Bucks throughout the first half, not having him
Yeah.
on the court, I think, for the last 4 or 5 minutes of this game. So listen, whatever they do is what they do, but the Bucks were able to hold the Kings to what was like 16 or 17 points in the fourth quarter here down the stretch, while they were able to grow their lead. Like having that defense in addition to the offense, like it gives you some hope about what this team might be able to do going forward.
Yeah, they did not score for the final 4.5 minutes of this game. Did the Sacramento Kings? So the defense, timely shot making as well from this Bucks team, and again, just finding your role players to step up big in those moments. Obviously, Giannis and Damian Lillard have to be really good, but that's going to be the secondary thing that determines how far this team goes. Is what you're getting from those types of guys once we get to the postseason. A couple other numbers to throw out there, and what we've seen in terms of trends from this Bucks team. We'll dig into that, and I do want to spend some time talking about the next game and what that's going to feel like looking across the sideline and seeing the head coach of the Phoenix Suns and what he's dealt with so far this season. So we'll get into that conversation as well coming up after this on Locked On Bucks. Time to talk to you now about Monarch Money. If you've ever checked your bank account and wonder, where did all of my money go? Maybe it's because of all the dining out or online shopping and entertainment. It's easy to lose track of where those funds have gone. That's where Monarch Money comes in as your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. You'll get surprising insights when you start using Monarch, and maybe you never realized how much you were spending on food delivery or fast food, and now it helps you budget even smarter and save more money. You get the convenience bundled into one place as well instead of juggling multiple apps. Just use Monarch and check your finances, track spending, and even plan your long-term goals. And you can collaborate with your partner, making managing money easier and smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com to score 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA, and get half off your first year. I do want to get to the Monday night game, to tonight's game, when people are listening to this here, Camille. But a couple other trends to throw out there. I mentioned this last night after the game wrapped up. The Bucks in the clutch. When we look at this group, you see what they did last night. And again, 4+ minutes where you held the Kings scoreless to close out this game. I think Sacramento scored 47 points total in the second half. So Bucks nearly matched their second half production in the third quarter alone. So this defense just continues to look better and better. And as we've said many times, I mean, at this point, it's no surprise. The Bucks have consistently been one of the 10 best defenses or right around there in the league so far this season. In the clutch, it's gone up a whole nother level. So taking last night's results, Saturday night's result into account here, the Bucks now have a 96.8 defensive rating in the clutch. That is nearly 2 points per 100 possessions better than the team that is second best. The Orlando Magic and Memphis Grizzlies both have a 98.7 defensive rating in the clutch. So you see that and you think, okay, now we're cooking here. Like the defense is finally sorted out. This team's ready to go. Don't ask about the offense is still 30th. And that's what stands out the most, Camille, is you have a number as eye-popping as what we just shared defensively with how locked in this unit has been in those close games. And you have a negative net rating in those games. How is that possible?
That shows just how poorly the offense has been coming along those clutch moments. Like, that doesn't even make sense to hear that. Like, you said 96 defensive rating?
96.8.
In the clutch. And you have a negative net rating in the clutch still because your offense. Wow. That's
remarkable.
That's more than disappointing. That's sad to a certain degree. But listen, we know the numbers, as we've mentioned, to continue to keep an eye on as the Bucks close out this regular season. Like, if you can see some improvement there, not moving the season-long trend there because they're too far gone at this point to move that, but just taking a look at how they perform through the clutch as the games continue to go on, as the regular season winds down, I think is going to be really important for this team. And I mean, it matches the eye test to a certain degree. Like, when you think about the defense throughout the game early on, you see things late on the rotation, or someone doesn't know where they seem to be needing to scramble to, or, hey, allowed an offensive rebound, didn't have a body on somebody. They continue to, have another possession, and it adds up. And then you see this team defensively in the clutch where it all just seems to really tighten up, where the focus is there, and you're seeing guys not missing rotations, being sharp, playing physical defense. And it's just that offense piece has to continue to be worked on, which I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's shocking that a team with Giannis and Dame continues to have this problem. Although, yes, in this game, there was no Damian Lillard. Even Kevin Porter Jr. was like, not having him is missing a really, really big piece of the offense, since he's our main initiator. Like, he's our point guard. Like, we miss Dame when he's not there. But still, like, that has to continue to improve for this team, especially when you think of the other role players on this team and how they can knock down those shots. Just, Frank has said it multiple times, like, it just feels like they're not as great as the collective sum of their parts. Like, individually, a lot of it works well, but they have to continue to find a way to get that offense moving in the fourth quarter.
Would you guess their offense has been better or worse in the post All-Star break schedule?
I would, because they had a couple games over 120. I would think it's actually a little bit worse, but not by much, I would think.
So I guess you're half right. It is the offensive rating is better after the All-Star break. They had a 113.6 offensive rating in the first half of the season. Since the All-Star break, it's 115.4. So they've gotten better there. Unfortunately, every offense has seen growth here. As the Bucks had the 13th best offense in the league. Best is probably the wrong word to use there. They had the 13th offense in the league prior to the All-Star break, and since they're 17. Defense has been very, very good, and that's what's consistently gotten better and better, so much so that Bucks are fourth best in defense after the All-Star break. The Pistons and Blazers are 1 and 2. The Warriors are 3, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Bucks could finish with the best defense in the league after the All-Star break. It's just the offense continues to be stuck in the middle there, and there's been a lot tossed out too. I've caught a few snippets of other shows and people talking about the Bucks, where it's easy to throw out hey, their record is this when they score 120 points. Like, yeah, I mean, I would expect every team's record is that. Like, I know it's the offensive evolution of the game, but it's still a lot to put up 120 points. So I would imagine the success rate is relatively high for not just the Bucks, all teams in that aspect. But it just, there's no middle point. I think that's what stood out the most about this team. Not pre All-Star break, not post season as a whole. There's no in between, right, Camille? It seems like game to game and within a game, quarter to quarter, the offense either looks really good and efficient, or it's stuck in mud and quicksand and not doing anything.
I mean, we saw it in this when they had 17 points themselves in the first quarter against the Kings before they were able to get it into gear. And a lot of times for offense, when I'm watching the Bucks, I try to look more at the process over the results. Like, was it a good shot? Was it just a good shot that was missed? Did you generate the best look on this possession? Or was it, the shot clock was winding down, Brook Lopez happened to have the ball with 6 seconds remaining, and he put the ball on the ground and tried to make something happen, where you're like, you don't want as many of those as just, hey, the ball was moving and AJ Green missed the open three. Like, the result, yes, not the result you want with the shot being missed, but what was the process to get to the shot? And if the Bucks can continue having good process, consistent good process, I think it'll bode well for them going forward. It's just like you mentioned, we haven't seen consistent good process from the Bucks. It's like from quarter to quarter, it changes, and they just have to find a way to be able to put that together for a full 48, not just 24 or 12 or the last, whatever the case may be in the game. Like, if they can start putting that together consistently, with the way the defense has been playing, and even their defense, they have room to improve there as well.
Yeah.
And they still have been a top 10, top 5 after All-Star break unit defensively, even with them needing to improve on certain things. So it's like, if they can just continue with the process and making sure the process is good, they should be able to set themselves up for some really good ball down the stretch. It's just, can they do that consistently?
Yeah, and I mean, look, the bright side to look at things is, just like we talked about the offense as a whole getting better, but you're getting better in a group where every other team is getting better as well. Same can be said for what the Bucks have done on both ends of the floor in the clutch before the All-Star break and after the All-Star break. One of those numbers is very, very interesting. So we'll share those, but as we mentioned before too, I do want to take a look at the Phoenix Suns and the coach of the Phoenix Suns and what the next 10 days is going to be like. Not quite as much in tonight's game, but certainly when the Suns come to Milwaukee on April 1st, there's going to be a lot of those types of questions and emotions running through the building. So we'll take a look at that coming up after this on Locked On Bucks. Okay, so to finish that point here, Camille, before the All-Star break, the Bucks had a 104.3 defensive rating in the clutch. Okay. Not bad. That was 5th best in the league. I mean, better than not bad. 5th best. They were 11-11 in those clutch games in the first half of the season. They had a 96.2 offensive rating. So here you have the 5th best defense in those spots. That should guarantee wins. Like the Bucks and Pelicans and Grizzlies were the outliers in that group. If you look at, wow, they're not winning these clutch games, at least at the rate you would anticipate. And it's not the offense you're looking for. Like the Bucks, especially of that entire group, you look at the net rating in clutch, Magic had the best defense. They were the only team before the All-Star break to have below 100. They were basically 10 points better than the second best Memphis Grizzlies. But the Magic, Grizzlies, Pacers, Pelicans, those are the other teams in the top 5 with the Bucks. 12, 12.5, 16.5, 1.9 net ratings. Even the Clippers, who are one spot behind the Bucks, a 6.3 net rating. Mm-hmm. Then you have the Bucks, a negative 8.2 net rating in the clutch, which I suppose, and we say it's remarkable you're 11-11, like with a defense that good, you should be winning more games. You got a negative 8.2. It's remarkable you even went 500 in the clutch. Post All-Star break, when we said offenses have gotten better as a whole, the Bucks have the 2nd best defensive rating in the clutch, and they're 7-4 in those 11 games. So you're winning at a higher clip. It's tough to even use the number 1 team, the Houston Rockets, as comparison defensively because they've only played 19 minutes in the clutch since the All-Star break. They're 5-1 in those 6 games, but they have a 69.4 defensive rating to the Houston Rockets. So you can't totally throw it out, but all right, let's maybe move that to the side. But the Bucks have a 75.7 defensive rating after the All-Star break in clutch games and a 21.7 net rating. So the offense has at least started to dig out of a hole, but you do the math there, Camille. 97.4 offensive rating is still 26th in the league, the 5th worst offense in the clutch. So you went from the worst to 5th worst after the All-Star break.
The progress, I guess, in some way. But no, I mean, one thing for me for the rest of the season here, we have 13 games
12,
left?
12.
Yeah. After the Warriors game, we know the reports came out about, Doc meeting with Giannis and Dame to talk about the offense and what they need to do. And I was really excited. Like, hey, I can't wait to see if there's anything we can notice immediately that seems to have changed from this offense after they had this conversation. And we haven't seen Dame on the court since they've had that conversation. So for me, I'm really looking forward to seeing when Dame returns back to the lineup here, what that offense looks like in the clutch, because the Bucks hadn't had many clutch games to start the season because the margin of victory and losses were just they were what they were. And we've had a lot more clutch opportunities post All-Star break for this team. So just how they continue to work through it. Like I said, they're not probably going to make much headway on changing their overall ranking. But if you can look at it from a certain date of like going forward from here, like the last 12 games, what does it look like as they head into the playoffs? Have they been able to fix some of those problems that they've had? And I mean, they're going up against the Phoenix Suns team tonight on Monday that not the best defense here for them, but that Phoenix Suns team can get to it on the offensive end. So it's another game where if Dame is not playing, it's another chance kind of missed to see how they're able to continue to work on that offense down the stretch here. But this Suns team shouldn't offer much resistance defensively for them along the way.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to that point, it's really just let's focus on what they do after the All-Star break
Yep.
and
Yep.
where those numbers sit. Looking at those numbers, you're pretty close to the top 10 in all three in offensive rating, defensive rating, and net rating. They are fourth best in defense at a 109.9. They are down to 17th on offense at a 115.4. But again, you're within a point of teams, 16 through 12 there. So get a couple of big games and you got a chance to start knocking on the door of the top 10. And most importantly, they're ninth in net rating at a 5.5, which is still not a huge number, but it's much better than what we're seeing season as a whole for this group. So those are the things that I'm starting to file away and take with me as we move into the playoffs. And especially because, you look at the teams that are in the top 10 in net rating after the All-Star break, and there's not really any outliers that are out there. The Oklahoma City Thunder are number one. The Warriors have been incredible since bringing on Jimmy Butler. They're number two. The Timberwolves have started to look much better and closer to the team they were a season ago. They're third. The Pistons, we've spent a lot of time talking about them. Pistons are fourth. Celtics are fifth. Cavs are sixth. The Rockets are eighth. If you want to say outlier, I guess it's the Portland Trailblazers who are seventh. But again, you watch Portland games really from January on. That's a very young, athletic, competitive team. So there's nothing to me that screams this is fool's gold with those post All-Star break numbers. So the big thing is just, okay, you got to keep working on the offense because the inconsistency is not going to be good enough in the playoffs. You're going to run into those walls, and you can't just rely on your defense to win these games for you. We witnessed that for the first 5 or 6 years, 5 years of this team being constructed, where you did win a championship one year, but the next few years, injuries were certainly a part of it. Even the years prior to that, your offense wasn't good enough, and that's why you came up short. So that has to continue to improve down the stretch here. Leave your thoughts on what we've seen from this Bucks offense, what your expectations are for this group. Where can they finish if we just look at the second half rankings as this team moves into the playoffs? You've heard me reference playoff status quite a bit. They have not updated the late night games from last night. So as of this moment, it's not taking the Bucks win into account. And they have the Indiana Pacers with a 60% chance of getting the 4 seed. The Bucks just a 28%. They have a 48% chance to the Bucks of getting the 5 seed. So I would imagine with last night's win, and now you're just a game back of the Pacers, that's probably going to be around 55-40, somewhere around there for the Pacers versus the Bucks. But that's where it currently sits as of now. Up next for the Bucks, game number 4 on this 5-game West Coast road trip. And this is a game that I think we all, as soon as the coaching change was made in Phoenix last year and we saw Bud take the job and the schedule came out, you obviously look for teams like, when do they play the Celtics? How many games do they have against the Knicks? Where's that Pacers game after last year? But then the Phoenix Suns were on there too of, all right, when does Bud come to Milwaukee? When's the Bucks' first game against Bud? So we're getting both of them in 7 or 8 days of each other here. It's obviously going to be much different next week when the Suns come to Milwaukee and you get all the additional media that's coming in to have those questions for Bud. But I'm curious what he has to say because Eric is going to be out there. Jim is going to be out there. The team broadcasters will be out there. And there's no restrictions now of, hey, Bud would prefer you not ask questions in the press conference. So we're going to hear something from Bud tomorrow. I don't envision it's going to be much. It's not going to be a Doc Rivers-esque answer, but I think you're going to hear a little bit of Bud talking about how he reflects on his time in Milwaukee. And honestly, Camille, it may be a welcome distraction for Bud and the way that the season has gone so far for the Suns.
It truly has. I mean, at least now the Suns have finally climbed into that 10 spot, which,
well, they're going to have to hold off those aforementioned Blazers.
Yeah, and the zombie Mavericks
zombie
at this
Mavs,
point.
Yeah.
Especially if Anthony Davis does make a return to the lineup here down the stretch. But I'm looking forward to it. Like, even before knowing that Mike Budenholzer was becoming the coach of the Suns, I was looking forward to that matchup because I love the KD Giannis matchups. I remember very clearly last year when Giannis did have that KD assignment one-on-one and just how he was giving KD some problems defensively. I just love seeing those types of matchups. I love being able to see some of the greats of this particular generation as they're getting close to the end of their career, continuing to hoop. So I never look over or look past being able a chance to see a KD Giannis matchup because I don't know how many more of those you get. And now adding in the Mike Budenholzer piece of it and just knowing that he has the connections to this team here and everything that happened with his exit, it adds a little bit more juice to the matchup, I think, in certain ways. So I'm looking forward to it. And again, the matchup in Milwaukee, I think, is going to have a bigger weight to it, as you mentioned, because it's his return to Milwaukee since the firing, a head coach that led the team to a championship, the respect that he gets there. I hope that, the Fiserv Forum faithful, when that day comes, give him a round of applause. And you move forward. But for this Monday matchup in the desert, I mean, also just being able to play in Phoenix, that too, knowing that was the finals matchup, the names are a lot different on both of these rosters since they met in the finals in 2021. But there's going to be something for me, at least, every time I see, Milwaukee versus Phoenix matchup where I'm just like, okay, this brings back some good feelings. I'm looking forward to seeing this matchup here. So I think it should be a fun game for the Bucks. And if they get this win against the Suns, really you're in position here to finish this road trip 4-1 if you can continue to take care of business.
Yeah, if you can take care of business in this one against a Suns team that suddenly won 3 in a row, and that includes a win over the Cleveland Cavaliers. But to say disappointing is an understatement for the Phoenix Suns so far this season. And, the numbers also suggest they're going to miss the playoffs. You mentioned holding off the zombie Mavericks. Dallas right now has a better chance at getting the 10 seed than the Phoenix Suns. Playoff status has a 60% chance of the Suns missing the playoffs. So it's going to be a desperate team that you're seeing later on in Phoenix. And then look, again, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but if you can win that game, you have guaranteed a winning road trip, which we said from the start needs to be the expectation for this Bucks team. And then you wrap up that 5-game West Coast road trip in Denver on Wednesday night. And I don't know how to describe what we're seeing. And we'll spend some more time later on in the week as we get closer to that game. But I don't know how to describe what we're seeing going on with the Denver Nuggets, because it seems like every other game they're getting blown out. How bunched up the Western Conference is right now. Denver's still holding on to the 3rd seed, but I mean, they're 3 games back in the loss column of the Warriors, who are 6th, actually 7th with the Clippers. And Nikola Jokic, I believe, as we record this on Sunday afternoon, Camille, I believe he is missing the game once again today against the Houston Rockets, which would be his 4th straight game missed with an ankle injury. They do play tomorrow, do the Nuggets against the Chicago Bulls, or Monday night, I should say. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that injury report. But if he misses that game too, then you really start to wonder about the severity of that ankle issue. And are you even going to see Nikola Jokic on Wednesday? Is this going to be a trip you look, man, you missed Sabonis and Monk. You missed LeBron James and Luka Doncic. You missed Nikola Jokic, like up and down the list of the players that you potentially miss on this road trip. And Steph Curry, too, although that didn't result in the win.
Yeah, as it should have. But I mean, for March basketball is weird in the NBA for a lot of different reasons. And down the stretch here, last I heard, I believe that Coach Malone had said that, Jokic and Murray were kind of like day to day, and they were just kind of taking it as it comes. But I'd be really, if they don't play on Monday night, that's when I'm really going to be like,
Yeah.
what does that look like for them? But then again, I would imagine, hey, Milwaukee's coming to town with Giannis and everything like that. I know teams tend to prioritize games in their own conference over interconference play. So, like, what does that mean for that game? But it could be a return for Jokic along the way as well. And coming off of that, could be well rested. So you can't look ahead too far. But on Monday night, make sure you keep an eye on that injury report for the Denver Nuggets, because it could be big come Wednesday when the Bucks head to Denver to play that team.
Yeah, as of this moment, and Nikola Jokic is out today against the Houston Rockets Sunday. So they got the Rockets game that's being played momentarily here. They got the game against the Bulls on Monday night, and then the Bucks on Wednesday night. But they've won just 3 of their last 8 games. Jokic has missed 4 straight games now, and they were 41-22, and it felt like, all right, Denver's gonna grab control of that 2 seed, and here they come. And then those injuries and inconsistencies, and again, it's not just the losses; it's the way they've looked in some of these losses. Run off the floor. Bucks can't really say anything there. Run off the floor by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Blown out by the Timberwolves. Big loss to the Lakers as well. A 19-point loss to the Portland Trailblazers without Jokic. So some of these losses have started to take on a very, very nasty look to them for the Denver Nuggets. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on Monday's injury report, but first and foremost for the Bucks, taking care of business in Phoenix against the Suns and our old friend Mike Budenholzer. Going to be interesting to see or hear what we hear said by Bud before that game, and how things go for the Bucks against a very, very desperate and wounded Phoenix Suns team. We will be back with the recap of the Bucks and the Suns, and hopefully we're talking about 3-1 to start this 5-game road trip and put yourself in much, much better playoff positioning here down the stretch. That'll do it for today's show. For Camille, I'm Justin. We will talk with you guys once again tomorrow on Locked On Bucks.